Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast over on YouTube. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. We're here to break down 2022 NBA draft prospects periodically before the 2022 NBA draft. We're going to dive deep into all of the most relevant, all of the best prospects in this class. And today we're talking about Kentucky guard TyTy Washington. As usual, the structure of these videos will be simple. Matt Pennie will break down the numbers and the vitals as we need them. We will then talk about TyTy's offense, his defense, and then we'll give an overall prospect breakdown. Matt, I cede you the floor. Give us everything we need to know about TyTy Washington.
TyTy Washington from the University of Kentucky measured at the combine 6'3" 3/4 with shoes with a 6'8" wingspan, averaged 12.5 points, 3.9 assists, 3.5 rebounds, 1.6 turnovers per game this past season while shooting 45% from the field, 35% from three, 75% from the free throw line. Some quick highlights. He had 20 and 12 versus Ohio. He had 28 and 5 against Tennessee. He had 25 versus Vanderbilt in the conference tournament. He battled injuries through the latter part of the year and fought through it. So his numbers could have been a little bit better if he were at full health. From an age slant perspective here, also a little bit older for a freshman, 20 years old, and will turn 21 in November of this year.
Okay, so let's talk about the offense. I think his best skill is as a passer, and unfortunately, he just didn't get a chance to do that this year, right? Because Severe Wheeler was the point guard there, and Severe Wheeler was one of Kentucky's 5 best players. They kind of needed to play him, but Severe can literally only play on the ball, so TyTy had to be pushed off the ball. In the stretches where Severe Wheeler was out, I thought we really saw TyTy's pass and shine. That game against Vanderbilt, I think, is, some of the best tape that any prospect put on tape this year. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in that game. I really buy him as just a pick and roll playmaker. I buy him in the way that he seems to diagnose and process basketball. I think he's phenomenal at making reads. Kentucky's offensive spacing was an absolute fucking catastrophe this year. And he makes cross corner kick out reads. He makes skip reads. He makes pocket passes, like just wraparound reads, lobs, anything that you need from him. This is a team that had Oscar Tshiebwe at center, Severe Wheeler at the point, and then played Keon Brooks and Jacob Toppin. And all due respect to all those guys, they're varying levels of being good college basketball players. None of them are shooters, period, point blank. And TyTy still found a way to kind of get in and out of the seams and create offense in a real tangible way, I thought, as a playmaker when he got an opportunity to do that.
Kelly Grady can shoot. But for the offense and just for
one guy,
too, that's all right.
One guy.
So it was an up and down year. It was really hard to get the right read on it. I'm still struggling to this very moment because he was sort of both on and off the ball and played more off the ball for stretches, like you talked about, playing next to Severe Wheeler, who was smaller. He was forced to play a little bit out of position, I would argue. I like to call him the mid-range assassin, although Malachi Branham may have something to say about that. He's just so comfortable inside the arc making plays. And as good as the mid-range stuff is, though, he does take a lot of long twos, which drives me nuts, which may, and many will say, is the worst shot in basketball. So that's going to have to either get closer to the rim with a floater or a little bit farther out to be a three-point shot. He loses some of that juice when the game gets outside the three-point line. I think that can improve it and get there. I'm not completely hung up on that. And while he does lack that explosive burst, too, off the bounce, he does rank in the 95th percentile with his runner and his 97th percentile in short jumpers per synergy, which are shots from 17 feet in. He gets a lot of shooters' rolls or bounces. Even his misses in the area aren't bad. It's a really soft release coming off his hand. I love how he plays out of pick and roll. He'll have more space to operate within the NBA too, but he has to be ready to fire against drop coverage because he's going to see that a lot. And those shots are going to be from 22 feet and not from 15 feet and in. He shot 35% from three and only 30% from the beginning of the year until they were limited by St. Peter's. So we can point to the injuries a little bit. He wasn't the same after getting banged up at Auburn. Really good passer. He knows where shooters, albeit limited, where they're supposed to be on the floor. And against the zone, he's really effective at navigating that of a guy closes out, we have an advantage, hit it opposite. I just can't necessarily wrap my head around what he's going to be like in the NBA with NBA players. I'm not saying I'm writing it off. More, Is he a combo that has a soft touch that can make his game more 3-point centric? Or is he this out of position point guard that was held back based on his role as Kentucky, where he really naturally wanted to play?
I wish that teams will drop coverage against him. Please, please drop coverage against him. I am an enormous fan of TyTy Washington's natural touch. So he shot 57% on his 47 floater attempts this season. That is second best in the draft behind Iverson Molinar. He finished top 25 in points scored off of his floater. He can get it from any angle, any footwork. If he gets that big, drive him backwards because he's in drop. I mean, by all means, go ahead. Feel free. Also took over 50 pull-up jumpers from between 8 and 16 feet, made them at a 59% clip. Form is pure, terrific rhythm, great elevation, has a smooth ball pickup and a really quick release. Again, like this is a guy that can just plant from multiple angles, multiple footworks at high speed, stay balanced on the shot, and it's going to go in. Like I feel confident about that. I like him from beyond the 3-point line. Like he has real step back ability. He can get it going to his right or to his left. I think that he's a little bit better off the catch right now. He does have like a small ball dip to generate power, but he's prepped. He's ready to fire off the hop. Like he has a lightning quick release point, even if it's or release, even if the release point is a bit low.
Yeah.
Makes him off a movement. Like I am not worried about anything that comes to skill with TyTy Washington. I'm worried about whether or not he can separate. Like if a team switches against him and has like a bigger wing defender there, that's where my worry comes in. Like I'm worried about him facing off against like Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson, even someone like DeAndre Ayton, who's a good switch defender, not like an elite switch defender in the NBA among centers. I'm worried about what that looks like. I can see TyTy getting swallowed up a little bit, but in terms of the skill stuff, like I'm good with that. I'm straight. Let's go. Defensively, where are we at on TyTy?
I would say he's a good defender. I'd like to see him add a little bit more strength to allow him to guard stronger guards and really maintain and be able to be okay with some of these switches that we talked about potentially too. I've read in interviews that he's working out multiple times a day. He knows that. He knows he needs to get bigger so he can get to that point. In terms of what we saw on tape this year, he loves reaching. He loves digging down for deflections and steals. When he's beat, he wants to go for that back tap instead of racing to recover and get back in front. But he does have active hands on and off the ball. He'll talk and communicate through switches. Like the offense with Wheeler, the defense put him in a tough spot. He had to guard a ton of twos, and that's a lot of hard, difficult assignments in the SEC. Doesn't have like the elite tools, plus 4 or so wingspan, so that's help out with the length a little bit. But he's going to have to be like using his brains, and it's almost like smarter, not harder, with like some of the gambles that he's going to take on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the defense, even against like point guards. Quicker guards gave him some issues this year. I have some worries that like explosive guards are going to kind of catch him a little bit. Also, like if he gets clipped on a screen right now, it's kind of tough for him to recover. Like it's an auto switch almost, it feels like, and that's just not ideal. Like this is a tough kid. I think as he gets stronger, he's probably going to get better at it. And the way he processes the game, I really like his team defense. It's just like, I have some worries right now about what the defense is going to look like early in his career. Having said that, where do you have TyTy on your board? What are you thinking about him? Like, how are you feeling about his overall prospects?
Somewhere in the 20 range. I remain flummoxed by this one. This will be the last day or two where I end up putting him. I like Washington needs a point guard. I think that's probably a little too high, and I'm not 100% sold that he is a point guard. I don't think I'd reach there. My guess is that 10 to 20 is like the Rockets at 17, maybe the Bulls at 18, Timberwolves at 19. I don't think he gets beyond like the top 25 or so cluster.
Yeah. The role for me, you mentioned like you're having trouble envisioning, what is the role, right? For me, it's playing him next to a big wing ball handler, like a Jimmy Butler or someone like that, who can initiate the offense, do everything he like needs from someone like that. And then he can play off ball. He can run primary ball screens and hit that guy on the second side, or he can play on the second side and knock down shots off the catch and then get an advantage when the defense is warped. And then once that defense is warped, I really think that he's going to make great decisions, processing the game, diagnosing the game, figuring out where to put the ball. So where does that fit exactly? I think is a real question among lottery teams. Like, it's not ideal with like Cleveland at 14. I don't think. I am kind of somewhat interested in Charlotte. Like, if you put him next to LaMelo Ball, LaMelo is big enough to where that could work. I just worry about the defense between those two being good enough to make it work. Oklahoma City, I think, would be sneaky fun because you just get a bunch of guys that just process the game at a really high level between him and Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm always a big fan of just smart guys, allowing them to thrive and do what they can. Houston also makes a lot of sense to me. Put him next to Jalen Green. Jalen can take a lot of the primary scoring role where he is, capable of doing that. And I think that TyTy would be able to really distribute and make plays and add some of the things that Jalen Green does not currently have right now. But for Matt Pennie over in Boston, I'm Sam Vecenie. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember, rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do everything you can. Support the show. Help us grow this thing over on YouTube. We'll be back later this week with more. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.